Hello and good day. Our topic for today is payment terms. In this video, I'm going to discuss the different terms of payment used by creditors or lenders. Payment terms. These are some of the terms that may be used. First, payment on demand. Second, payment required immediately after the occurrence or completion of an event. Third, payment required after merchandise is sold. And fourth, payment with certain due dates. I will discuss these four payment terms one by one. The first payment term is payment on demand. Payment on demand means that payment shall be made by the debtor upon demand by the creditor. Meaning to say, kapag nagdemand na si creditor na bayaran na ni debtor ang kanyang utang, dapat nang magbayad si debtor. In this case, si debtor ang umutang at si creditor ang nagpautang. So kapag nagdemand na si creditor kay debtor, dapat nang magbayad si debtor. That is the meaning of payment on demand. The second payment term is payment required immediately after the occurrence or completion of an event. Payment required immediately after the occurrence or completion of an event means that payment shall be made by the debtor after an event or activity occurs or after an event or activity is complete. Ibig sabihin, kailangan munang mangyari yung event or activity o kailangan munang matapos yung event or activity bago ibigay yung bayad. I'm sure that you are very familiar with COD or cash on delivery. COD stands for cash on delivery. COD or cash on delivery is an example of payment required immediately after the occurrence or completion of an event. In COD or cash on delivery, the buyer will only pay upon arrival or receipt of merchandise. An event must occur first, that is the arrival of the goods. Hanggat hindi pa dumadating yung merchandise or goods, walang payment na mangyayari. Another example is payment to contractor after construction is done. Let's say for example, construction of house. Kailangan munang matapos yung bahay bago bayaran si contractor. Another example is payment to a musical group after performance. So after na ma-render yung songs, saka lang babayaran yung musical group. The next payment term is payment required after merchandise is sold. Payment required after merchandise is sold means that payment shall be made after the merchandise is sold. Ibig sabihin, hanggat hindi pa nabebenta yung merchandise, walang payment na mangyayari. Kung familiar kayo sa consignment, payment under consignment falls under this category. Ano ba yung consignment? Consignment is an arrangement in which a consignee agrees to pay a consignor for merchandise after the item is sold. Meaning to say, there are two parties in consignment. Yung unang party ay tinatawag na consignor at yung pangalawang party ay tinatawag na consignee. Si consignor, siya ang may-ari ng merchandise or goods. Siya ang owner. Yung merchandise or goods na pagmamay-ari ni consignor, ipapabenta niya kay consignee. So, si consignee, hindi sa kanya yung merchandise or goods. The consignee is not the owner of the goods. Ang trabaho lang niya ay magbenta. So, ibibigay ni consignor yung merchandise or goods kay consignee para ibenta ni consignee. Kapag nabenta ni consignee yung merchandise or goods, yung sales niya, iririmit niya kay consignor. As you can see, the payment shall be made after the merchandise is sold. Of course, since binenta ni consignee yung goods or merchandise na pagmamay-ari ni consignor, dapat merong makukuha yung consignee in order to compensate his or her efforts. Usually, the consignee receives commission. Yung commission, depende na yan sa agreement nila ni consignor. The next payment term is payment with certain due dates. There are several kinds of payment with certain due dates, and they are first, payments with due dates in calendar days. Second, fixed 1 year with renewal. Third, payments after availments. Fourth, interest only and balloon payment at the end of the term. Fifth, amortized payments of equal amounts. Sixth, graduated payments scheme. Seventh, decreasing payments scheme. And eighth, acceleration clause. I will discuss these 8 kinds one by one. Let's start with payments with due dates in calendar days. Payments are usually made in 30, 60, or 90 days for both merchandise credit and short-term cash loans. Sa merchandise credit, ang pinaka-common ay 30 days. Sa short-term cash loans naman, may 90 days or 3 months, meron ding 180 days or 6 months, or less than a year. Next is fixed 1 year with renewal. This means that the loan is paid in 1 year and it may be renewed at the end of the term. So kailangan bayaran yung loan in 1 year and at the end of the term, which is 1 year, pwedeng i-renew yung loan. Pwede ulit humiram yung borrower. Next is payments after availments. This applies to a line of credit. Ano ba yung line of credit? A line of credit is a flexible loan from a financial institution that consists of a defined amount of money that a borrower can access as needed and repay either immediately or over a specified period of time. Meaning to say, ang line of credit, ito yung loan na pwedeng i-withdraw ng borrower kung kailangan niya. The borrower does not need to withdraw the full amount approved. He withdraws only what he needs and therefore he pays only what he gets. The borrower pays what he borrows immediately or over a specified period of time. Of course, since this is a loan, interest is charged on a line of credit as soon as money is borrowed. Next, interest only and balloon payment at the end of the term. Interest only and balloon payment at the end of the term means that the borrower is required to pay only the interest at the end of each year. At the end of the term, He has to pay the interest corresponding to that year plus the principal. The principal payment is a large lump sum payment and is called a balloon payment in financial circles. Meaning to say, at the end of each year, ang babayaran lang ng borrower ay interest. But at the end of the term of the loan, ang babayaran ng borrower ay interest for that year plus the principal. Ang tawag dun sa principal payment at the end of the term of the loan ay balloon payment. For example, 500,000 pesos loan with 5-year term at 12% annual interest. Ang principal ay 500,000 pesos, ang interest rate ay 12% at ang term ay 5 years. So, ang annual interest ay 60,000 pesos. That is 500,000 pesos times 12%. At the end of year 1, the borrower pays 60,000 pesos as interest payment. At the end of year 2, ganun din, 60,000 pesos na interest. At the end of year 3, 60,000 pesos na interest. At the end of year 4, 60,000 pesos na interest. Pero at the end of year 5, which is the end of the term of the loan, ang babayaran ni borrower ay 60,000 pesos na interest plus the principal na 500,000 pesos. So at the end of the term of the loan, ang babayaran ni borrower ay 560,000 pesos including the principal and the interest for that year. That is the meaning of interest only and balloon payment at the end of the term. Next, amortized payments of equal amounts. This payment scheme provides for equal periodic payments. Each payment is made up of both the interest and a portion of the principal. Meaning to say, unti-unting binabayaran yung principal until ma-fully paid. Yung sinasabing period dito ay either monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. For every period, there are equal payments. Meaning to say, pare-pareho yung binabayaran ng borrower. Of course, for every payment, nababawasan yung principal. Take note that each payment includes the interest and a portion of the principal. For example, a 5-year loan that requires 100,000 pesos annual payment at the end of each year. Ang period dito ay annual period, meaning to say, every year na babayaran. For every year, there are equal payments of 100,000 pesos. Meaning to say, at the end of the term of the loan, which is 5 years, fully paid na yung 500,000 pesos na principal. Next, graduated payments scheme. This payment setup is popular in home mortgages, particularly to applicants who just graduated from college and are just starting out. The payments in the first 5 years are lower than the payments in the next 6 to 20 years. Because the income levels of applicants who are employed for the first time are relatively low, this scheme is the most appropriate for them. The small and affordable payment amounts in the first 5 years are equivalent to interest payments only. As the term progresses, the subsequent payments will include provisions for the principal portion. Meaning to say, kaya tinawag na graduated payment scheme kasi ang ibig sabihin nung graduated ay progressive or increasing. Habang patagal ng patagal, palaki ng palaki yung binabayaran ng borrower. Next, decreasing payments scheme. Decreasing payments scheme is a very rare payment plan and is the exact opposite of the graduated payments scheme. This scheme is appropriate for individuals who are at the peak of their career or who are currently experiencing financial success. As they approach the age of retirement, their income tends to go down. In fact, many will be very dependent on their monthly pensions. Meaning to say, kaya tinawag na decreasing payments scheme kasi habang patagal ng patagal, pababa ng pababa yung payments. So this is the exact opposite of the graduated payment scheme. Kasi nga, sa graduated payments scheme, habang patagal ng patagal, pataas ng pataas yung payments. Next, acceleration clause. Acceleration clause is a provision in installment contract which accelerates the due date of the loan or credit in case of non-payment of some periodic payments. The account becomes due and demandable. Meaning to say, itong acceleration clause, this is an agreement between the parties involved in a contract. This is stipulated in the contract. Nagiging effective itong acceleration clause kapag merong violation of contract or breach of contract na ginawa si borrower or debtor. Kapag merong ginawa na violation or breach of contract, si borrower or debtor, mag-a-accelerate yung due date ng loan. Meaning to say, hindi na hihintayin yung original due date ng loan. Kailangan nang magbayad si debtor or borrower ng kanyang utang.